Suzanne's Paparazzi Jewelry, 24/7 shopping available. 160920 is the code. Show her some love, like she showed us.
Hello and welcome to another night of On Deck, brought to you by Coast to Coast Entertainment Network. I am the host, Big B. I am joined by the working man to my left, Crispy Bacon. How you doing?
Doing good. Baseball season's wrapping up today, tomorrow, somewhere in there.
Yes, it is. And
Playoffs
below
are-
us, and below us is man that doesn't need any introduction because normally he does them himself. Callum McClure, how you doing, bud?
Good evening, fellas. Playoffs are here, baby. Let's go. And who would have
Playoffs?
thought?
Are we talking
who would have thought,
playoffs?
though? Who would have thought that we'd be here, though, guys? After all this nonsense and the crap we had to put up with the lockout earlier in March, and here we are, guys, a day away from the final day of the regular season, and yes, Jim Mora, the playoffs starting on Friday. Let's go. Good to see you guys. Though.
Yeah, exactly. The playoffs. Before we get started into our topics, Callan, I know this is actually a baseball show, but I want to get your thoughts on the Tua situation, and because I know you played hockey and high level baseball, plus you announced hockey and stuff. So, what's your initial reaction to the whole Tua situation?
I really hope for the best, and I was very upset. I was very upset though about how this has been handled by the NFL, by the Dolphins, and just about how it was a very mismanaged situation. Then Cameron Brate suffers a concussion in the primetime game between the Chiefs and the Buccaneers in Tampa. And I think, guys, and I think, Brandon, it's a very valid point that he brought it up, though, because, again, with me living in San Diego and knowing about Junior Seau, how he had played here for a long time, grew up here in San Diego, played at USC, was, wanted to get drafted by the Chargers, and he got drafted by the Chargers, and, part of that 94 team who, that 94 Chargers team, best team all time, in my opinion, other than the 63 team who won the last, pro title that we've won here in San Diego with the NFL or Major League Baseball. And knowing about, like, Junior Seau, Dave Dumerson, Steve McNair. Those three guys come to mind, though, about the repeated, blows to the head and the concussions, the mood swings. And we know that CTE is now a legitimate thing by way of all the lawsuits. And I will agree, Brandon, as a guy who actually played inline hockey when I was, younger in elementary school, age 6, age 7, age 8 till I was age 10, though, and then having played competitive sports, though. And thankfully, at that young age, though, at least with the league that I played in, and plus with inline having different rules than ice hockey, where you're not allowed to check people into the boards, though. But, they mandate now, and they have mandated for a long time, that kids below the age of 18 wear a helmet, wear a visor, wear a cage, wear the fishbowl. And now coaches are required now to wear helmets when they're coaching or leading practices. And now, yes, I will admit that, me and my friends, when we would go and play games on Wednesday night, play pickup games, no one would wear helmets, but we would, say, hey, if you don't feel comfortable, do so. And a lot of us out there, myself included, would not wear any padding. We would just go out there and play, other than having, our gloves and maybe a hat on, but, just out there having fun. But then that is in the back of your head, though. But after the disturbing video of Tua's issue against Buffalo, the turnaround, though, with Thursday Night Football, I think Richard Sherman had a great point, though, that he's been vocal about that. And I would agree, though, that that's a sport, though, and I would even throw soccer in there. Yeah. It's a little bit difficult to play that type of a game, twice in a matter of 3 days, 4 days, 5 days. You really need that full week to, prepare yourself or at least get yourself back on track. And I really hope nothing further happens, because I do think, though, if Tua suffers one more injury, I think he's going to have to retire, because I don't know if you can continue to take beating after beating after beating. And I think more than anything else, though, guys, the one against the Bengals is the one that really infuriated me the most, about seeing him get thrown down. It's more of like the ragdoll tackle, then his head hits the turf, then you see the fencing position happen, and right then and there, I'm thinking, okay, throwing the towel on Tua, because this is, and more than anything else, I feel bad for him, though, because he dealt with already one near career-ending injury and out with at Alabama with his hip issue, whatever it was, and now this issue coming up though. Sad situation. Shame on the Dolphins, and further shame on the NFL for again not having the players' best interest like they say that they do, though. But again, it's a very depressing, sad, infuriating situation. And again, I really hope and pray all the best for him going forward.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, as a player, you want to play no matter if you're injured. But I think the NFL should have stepped in after that Monday and just said, dude, there's no way he's playing. There's no way he's playing Thursday. And now you got the injury, and now they ruled him out for week 5. And honestly, I hope that Tua wise up, somebody gets to him, his family or somebody, and says, dude,
one more shot to the head and you're done. Just give it up.
I know former pro wrestler Chris Nowinski, a big advocate of concussion protocol, got a PhD in it. He's been vocal about it. I don't want to see the young guy, be out, but again, you might have to think retirement already. I mean, hopefully he doesn't play too soon. Hopefully, if he's listening, he takes off the rest of the year.
Yes.
So just a little breaking news. Judge is leading off against the Rangers tonight in game 2. So
come on, baby. I want to see history. Sorry, Chris.
No, that's okay. But that's what I was going to get at. I mean, we've had
we're out of it anyway, so I don't care.
We've had 2 great home run stories.
Yes, absolutely.
What, Colin? Since you haven't been around, which one meant more this year? Pujols for 70 or 700, or Judge going for Maris's record?
They're both. They both have been great storylines to follow because it's been so long, I think, guys, for us as baseball fans, watching greatness unfold and being able to see Pujols in the final year of his career, whether they win the damn thing or not.
Oh, breaking news. He did get it. He led off the game with a 62 home run.
Yes!
He got it. So
all right.
And that came off of starter Tinko, Tinko. So wow. 62 has been reached. So
unbelievable. What
Chris.
Impeccable timing. What impeccable timing.
Yeah, no kidding.
And I think more than anything else, though, is, I have enjoyed watching both of these unfold, especially with Albert, because, again, we're not going to see anyone hit 700 home runs, guys, for probably the next decade at least. Maybe, maybe someone's close, but, 700 for Albert. And to do it, though, in the same game against the Dodgers, and the fan, I think, the same fan caught both of them. But also,
did he really?
I think so. And I think just seeing Albert when he got the 700 and seeing the jubilation on his face, though, rounding the bases and him stepping on home plate, then going over and, saying hi to his family and saluting the Dodgers
before he got to his...
Yeah, that was cool. And then, with Aaron Judge, though, guys, and I think, and I'm sure you guys have seen the movie 61 that Billy Crystal did that had Barry Pepper as Roger Maris. And that was a very well done production about, and I think they'll really capsulated how the pressure was on Maris, the new guy coming to the Yankees, who were, again, the juggernaut, or who've been, a baseball juggernaut for their entire franchise history. But how you saw firsthand, the media being on you. You don't fit the Yankee mold. You're not a real Yankee. Who are you coming in here from Fargo, North Dakota to be, Mantle's going to break the record, not you. Then you saw how Mantle was off the field, though, with drinking, with, his drinking problem, him having the flu. Then, he has that, that shot go wrong. Then he's out for the year because of his injuries and stuff like that. Then you see, though, how the Yankee fans kind of are, though, in a way, towards their own ball club about, being on Maris, because he said, I'm maybe not a New York kind of guy, though, and they take that personally. And Bob Ryan, guys, who you may know, used to write for the Boston Globe, told a film director about the '86 World Series when Buckner had the ball go through his legs. That guy let me down. Not just the organization or his teammates. He let me, as a Boston native, down. And stuff like that. And things of that nature. But for Judge to do it though tonight, and again, this just breaks here on the program, which I think is absolutely amazing.
That's awesome.
Super awesome. And I don't think though, guys, it could happen to a better guy than Aaron Judge though, who I would say is pretty quiet, kind of a private guy. And he's been, doing it though with pure class though. He hits the home run. He may throw the bat aside though, but he's running around the bases. Kind of like the old school mentality. Again, maybe it is though with him playing for the Yankees though. I think though as well from a baseball standpoint, great seeing the 3 single season home run record holders in the American League: Babe Ruth, Roger Maris, and now Aaron Judge though. And I think I'm a bit more bummed though that it happened, but not in the Bronx. Not where he could celebrate with the hometown.
Yeah.
Same with Albert Pujols hitting 700 in Los Angeles. But again, he played part-time for the Dodgers last season. Again, the Dodger fan base, classy in their way, giving him a standing ovation. I just thought, though, that wherever Pujols and Judge went on the road, though, it was either packed or sold out.
Yep.
But that regardless of whether the fans are rooting for the Yankees or the Cardinals or not, everybody is on their feet, phones out maybe, but they're standing, though, knowing they're watching greatness. So congrats to Albert, and more importantly, congrats to Aaron Judge again. 62 homers, guys, in a single season. Amazing. Too bad, though, he won't get the all-time record of 73 set by Bonds, but maybe this is a stepping stone. Maybe he'll get to 65 next season, or maybe go for 70 in 2023.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows? Chris, your thoughts of 62 coming against your Rangers?
Hey, I'm okay with it. We're already out of the playoffs. But even if we were in the playoffs, I think it'd be cool. No matter what sport, whether it's baseball, football, or even hockey or basketball, if there's a record to be broke of some kind, I think fans are wanting it to happen, even if it's against their own team. So, I mean, congratulations to him. And, I want to see him, come close next year and maybe break it a little bit more.
I think Barry Bonds I think he tied Aaron or moved past him in San Diego. I think like during the first or second year that Petco Park had been opened here in San Diego, and I remember that. I think we all remember. The flash bulbs would always go off with people taking pictures back then.
Yeah.
When cameras were an actual thing and they weren't on your phone, and stuff like that. And I think one of the
they weren't.
Yeah, and maybe Brandon or Chris, you guys been at a game though. But I think my favorite milestone that I've seen in person at a ball game was Tony Gwynn's final game in October of 2001 against the Rockies. Ricky Henderson got his 3,000th hit at that game I was at. He blooped the single down the, dropped a little fly ball between second baseman and right fielder. And I remember he got a double out of it. He slides in safely. The whole Padre dugout in the bullpen empties out as he's sliding into second base to celebrate the 3,000th hit. That was really cool.
No doubt. And it looks like it was on a 1-1 pitch. And it looks like it went into left field, 391 to set the record. So
wow.
I was trying to see if I could find a video quick, but I can't. So definitely
not yet. Give it time though. It'll be up pretty soon.
Oh, exactly. So for me, I mean, records are meant to be broken. I mean,
yes.
Yeah, it's the Yankees. Partly I didn't want them to break it, but I knew it was going to happen. So props to him. I mean, I'm glad Pujols got his before Judge got his, because I think it would have been Judge all the way. Yeah. So, and then in Callan, while Chris steps away, how about that moment in St. Louis, Sunday or Monday?
Sunday.
I think it was, Sunday, where Adam Wainwright, Yadier, and Pujols all left the game together. What's your thoughts on that?
I want to quote Sarah Langs, who is a writer, I believe, for Yahoo, and she's one of the best baseball follows on Twitter. And she always says, baseball is the best, though. But one of her other quotes I love, though, is, how can you not be romantic about baseball? Mm-hmm. And and I think for our entire lives here, Brandon and Chris and myself included, is that, we have essentially grown up and watched, Yadier, Albert, and Wainwright, either beat up on our teams or just watch them. And again, like I say a lot, though, is you learn to respect greatness when you see it, though. And the Cardinals, again, they've been a class organization their entire career time. I know they had some issues, I think, though, with them, maybe hacking the Astros for passwords in 2011 or 2012, though. But that, Wainwright, Uncle Charlie and the curveball, Yadier throwing out guys from his knees at his age, Albert hitting dingers left and right at every ballpark out there. And just seeing them, and I know that Albert left, though, and went to the Angels and went to the Dodgers. Then he came back, though, that full circle moment, though. And seeing these three guys, though, who, have brought a lot to a very, I think, classy organization in Major League Baseball, but to a sports city, though, like St. Louis, who lost the NFL to LA, who finally had their hockey team win a Stanley Cup in 2019 after, three straight appearances in the early 60s, and they lost all three of them. And now they have MLS coming in. There's been no NBA there for a long time. And that it's the Cardinals, not really versus everybody, but like it's the Cardinals as like the main driving sports engine in a city like St. Louis, though. And but also about how the Cardinals have they have a tremendous following whenever they're on the road, though. I see it all the time when they come to San Diego. They have a great fan base. They're knowledgeable about the game. They love the game. They watch the game. They know the game inside and out, though. And I think just to be able to see, Yadier and Wainwright and Pujols kind of close that first chapter. Now, again, what about Wainwright? What about Yadier? We know that Albert's going to be done, though. And kind of in a way, it closes the chapter on, I think, probably one of the, maybe not the greatest, but one of the all-time best chapters, I think, in St. Louis Cardinals history.
Yeah. No, now, Chris, how about you, Sunday's little Cardinals farewell to Pujols, Molina, and Wainwright?
It's great. I mean, you're not going to see those players anymore, on the baseball field, and they'll most likely go to the Hall of Fame. Maybe at once they're hoping, but most likely separate. But they'll get in no matter what. For them to honor them like that was pretty cool. And hopefully, there's more playoff seasons and, maybe down the road.
Yeah, I think, we know Pujols said this was his last year, and I think Yadi came out mid-season or something, said this is most likely his last season. Wainwright's the undecided one, but I think his mind's made up after that tribute and stuff. I think he's going to take the postseason or the rest of the postseason, get fixed, and I hope they all three go together. I really do. Honestly, the next trio that I wish would have walked off together would have been Jeter, Pettit, and Rivera for the Yankees.
Same.
So
absolutely.
So with that being said, guys, let's get into we'll call them our All-Star for 2022 roster. Calvin, since you're the host or guest today, who do you have at first base on your 2002 All-Star All-Team for 2022?
I kind of mainly just skim and scan some stats, though, and kind of look things over. And in the American League and National League, I think I had my mind kind of made up a little bit, though. On the NL side, I have to go with Paul Goldschmidt. I know that Freeman had a tremendous year, though, but that Goldschmidt, I think, kind of in a way, not really overtook Freeman. But that Goldschmidt, I think, had been doing it very consistently all year, though, and I think he's probably going to win MVP more than likely. I would have had Machado as my pick, though, not a hometown pick, though. But again, like I say a lot, though, is that people a lot of times forget that it's actually the most valuable player, not the one with the best stat categories, but the true value to that franchise, though. But I believe that Goldschmidt has got to be my pick in the National League, though. It's a tie between him and Freddie Freeman, though. But Goldschmidt, though, again, the power, hitting third or fourth in the order, hitting second, moving up and down, though. And really, being one of the lead catalysts why the Cardinals overtook Milwaukee for the NL Central. And Brandon, I got to go with your boy Luis Ariz with the Twins, though. He's probably gonna win the batting title at first base. He's got a little bit of a hold right now on the batting average right now. But I for only seeing him play a 3-game set against the Padres in San Diego and seeing him play on that Sunday afternoon I went, though, I like what he brings to the table, though. Good glove in the field and also very consistent at the plate, though. I think he had his numbers were kind of off the chart, though. So for me, I got Ariz from the Twins and Paul Goldschmidt over at first base.
All right. Chris, who do you have at first base? You could just do one if you want. I didn't really specify, but go ahead.
I'd probably go with Goldschmidt.
Yeah.
One.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, I mean, it's Goldsmith in the National League. I go with Abreu. I mean, Arise, I think, is more of a utility guy, second base guy, but he did play 90% of the time at first because Sano doesn't know how to stay out the injured list. But Abreu, solid with his White Sox. I mean, you could have went with Lowell. You could have went with France over in Seattle. So those are my two. Let's move on to and the one thing is one thing I gotta say for Goldschmidt, I'm actually kind of disappointed that he did not let Albert Pujols start the All-Star game.
Agreed.
So not that I'm going to hold it against him, but yeah,
Right.
He's going to be MVP, but definitely, yeah. So let's move on to second base there, Callan. Who do you got?
Andres Jimenez of the Guardians is my pick at second base. All around, though, again, great year at the plate, steady in the field, though. And I think, though, more importantly, another engine that on a team who I think none of us on this panel picked to win the American League Central. I had the White Sox and Twins fighting for the top spot, and Cleveland kind of came out of nowhere with their lineup. And again, Terry Francona doing a marvelous job coaching that ball club this season. So Jimenez is my AL pick. I'm going with Jeff McNeil, actually, at second base from the Mets, though. For my second base pick, though. McNeil, again, I know he's been battling injuries, guys, and kind of like in the past couple of years, though, his name has always seemed to be in trade talks. It seems like every passing season.
Mm-hmm.
And that McNeil, he's a leadoff guy. He can bat down in the order. I like his two-strike approach, though, where he's like halfway up his bat, which you don't see a lot of guys choke up nowadays with two strikes, though, and find a way to put the ball in play. Again, steady in the field, though. So I got Jimenez of Cleveland and Jeff McNeil from the Mets at second base for my my team for 2022.
All right, Chris, who do you have?
I'd probably go Altuve
Okay.
as one.
Altuve's not a bad pick.
No.
So, for me, I'm going to go Torres with the Yankees, and I'm going to go Wong with the Brewers. Both solid guys right up the middle. You look out there, they look like
good picks.
Yeah. So, let's go move on to the shortstop. Callan, who do you got as short?
I have to throw a bit of a bone to the Red Sox. I know they had a pretty down year, but I love Xander Bogaerts. I mean, Xander has been a very consistent player on that team, kind of like the last piece that's kind of holding over this Red Sox club in that 2019 World Series run over the Dodgers. With Betts being gone, Chris Sale's been having his injury woes, and that Bogaerts and Rafael Devers have been basically the two main guys. So I go with Bogaerts in the American League, and I have to throw Trey Turner in as my shortstop for the National League. I mean, Trey has bled off. He's bad. He's hit second. He's quick. He's agile. He's got speed. And certainly, I do see the Dodgers keeping him around for the long haul. I know I think he's a free agent this season. But again, being able to do it though in such a loaded lineup though, like what the Dodgers have though, and again, 110 wins speaks volumes about that. So I'll go with Turner with the Dodgers, and I'll go with Xander Bogaerts as my shortstop in the American League.
All right. And Chris, who do you have?
I'll go Francisco Lindor and Manny Machado.
Hey.
Yeah. I think Machado played both short and third most of the year. So for me, I got to go with the big surprise signing for the Twins. I got to go Correa. I mean, he kind of held the team together.
I'll give him that. That's for sure.
Most consistent player. I really hope he decides to stay. His comment was that he's a product. If you want it, you're going to pay for it. So didn't really like that comment. Understand it though. And definitely the Twins are a customer. So if they want them, they're going to get them. Over the National League, just because I know at the beginning of the year, Mr. Adam Barber wanted this guy cut, released, traded, sent down back to college, Little League ball. I'm going to go with Swanson of the Braves.
Hey.
He turned it on back.
I thought that was Will Smith.
So, yeah. So, all right, Colin, who you got at third?
My AL pick may surprise you, but I'm going to go with Yandy Diaz of the Rays.
Ooh.
Here's a guy, but more than anything else, guys, it's more about the Rays as a whole, though. A team who, again, plays in probably the second worst ballpark in the entire major leagues. The lack of a fan base or attendance down there. But they have found ways, guys, since 2020 to find ways into the postseason. Now, whether they get to the World Series or not, win it, that's a different story, though. But they just find guys, though, like a Kevin Kiermaier, a Randy Arozarena, or a Yandy Diaz, who you don't hear a lot about because they play in a very small market in St. Petersburg, Florida. And Diaz, I think, though, consistent at the plate, though, again, defense, what have you. And, of course, I have to go with Manny Machado with the National League again. Again, probably before he got hurt would have been my pick for the MVP because, again, it's about the value to the team, not about the numbers looking sexy. I would have gone with Machado if he was not hurt, though, back in mid to late June when he got hurt up in Colorado against the Rockies, though. But again, 30-plus homers, 100-plus runs batted in. Again, hitting third, making the plays in the field, though. And I know a lot of people are going to probably give, Nolan Arenado, the batting title at third base or give him the Gold Glove, though. I mean, it's almost like what more does Machado have to do to earn respect among the baseball writers out there? I know he has this, reputation from the past that has not happened with San Diego again. The slides and at second base, stepping on Jesus Aguilar's foot, though, the no hustle comments or what have you, though. But I definitely have to go with Machado playing third base again. Solid in the field, though, has been hitting third. And for a long time, guys, let's remember here, before they got, Soto and Drury and Bell and Hader, he had no protection whatsoever in that lineup, though, from opening day until the trade deadline came. Now he's got Soto in front of him, Drury behind him, Josh Bell behind him, and other guys across the lineup, though. And I mean, for Machado's investment, though, his fourth year, I think, being in San Diego, 2 playoff berths in those 4 years is a pretty good start to this 10-year contract. So I'll go with Machado in the National League, and I have to go with Yandy Diaz playing third for Tampa Bay.
Chris?
Yeah. Make sure. Yeah. We'll go Nolan Arenado.
Yeah, that's a good one. Definitely still a shocker of a trade a couple years ago. I
Yeah.
still don't know how.
Thanks, Colorado.
Yeah, I don't know how Colorado did that, but anyways, for me, I'm gonna go Devers in Boston, and I gotta go Machado. I liked him when he was in Baltimore. He's over in San Diego now. Still like him. I think they definitely got a nice nucleus there when they added Soto, and hopefully Tatis could stay healthy next year. So, all right, let's go with the backstops, guys. Colin, who do you got?
My pick in the American League might surprise some people, and maybe even my pick in the behind the plate in the National League. Alejandro Kirk with the Blue Jays is my pick for the American League.
Like it.
And I got to roll with JT Realmuto of the Phillies. Philadelphia had their own internal problems this year, and I think that Realmuto and Segura were the only 2 players I think that were on this Phillies roster who actually had postseason experience, dating back to maybe with the Marlins or wherever they may have been in the past, though, and other things like that, though. But I love seeing the big fellas having a chance to shine, though, whether it's Daniel Vogelback with the Mets or Rowdy Tellez with the Brewers, and Kirk, though, with the Blue Jays, and then JT Realmuto is my pick in the National League.
Yeah, definitely like that. Chris?
Yeah, I'd go with Christian Vazquez. I think I'm saying that name right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. No, definitely good picks there. I gotta get a little love to Oakland. Murphy's been there through the rebuilding years, put up decent numbers. Gotta get a little love to Oakland. For the storybook moment, though, I gotta go Molina. I mean,
yes.
The guy, he's done everything. Even came in and pitched a few games.
Him and Pujols both.
Yeah, exactly. So I gotta go Molina. All right, guys, let's go with the outfield. Kellen.
My outfield in the American League, left to right, maybe a little surprising, maybe not. But I went with kind of like an under-the-radar pick. I picked Stephen Kwan from Cleveland as my left fielder because the streak of him coming to the pros, though, and then that on-base streak, though. Mm-hmm. But seeing him play, though, against the Padres in late, mid-August here, and seeing how he is at the plate, though, and his approach, though, is just one that I don't think we see a lot, though, of guys wanting to work the count, foul pitches off, take those borderline strikes that are called balls, though, and making the pitcher work, though, especially, though, in the leadoff spot where he's been for a good chunk of the season. So he's my left fielder in the American League. Of course, I picked Aaron Judge over Trout in the in center field again. Judge, 62 homers, most homers now in American League history. Batting second, leading off. But more importantly, I picked Aaron Judge because he's been healthy for the entire season. And I have long said, though, that the Yankees will only go as far if they're healthy. And Judge is in for a good chunk of the year, guys. They were healthy for a good majority of the season. So, again, Judge is my pick in center field. And I'm going to roll with Kyle Tucker of the Astros in right field, though. Again, there really wasn't a lot of other guys I would have thought out there in right field.
Yeah.
My outfield in the National League, a little surprising maybe. Ian Happ of the Cubs was my pick in left field. Again, one of the last holdovers of that 2016 core. Again, Bryant gone, Rizzo gone, and stuff like that. And, again, Ian Happ is my pick in left field. I went with Brandon Nimmo of the Mets in center field because I just don't know if there's been really too many other well-hitting center fielders out there. Maybe Bellinger, sadly not Trent Grisham with the Padres or what have you. And then in right field, I had to go with Mookie Betts. Again, Mookie's been leading off. Again, he's had, a couple of injuries, stints maybe here or there, though. But again, anchoring that lethal Dodgers lineup, though, again, 1 through 9, again, there's no automatic outs like there is in some other lineups. So, Stephen Kwan, Judge, and Tucker for the American League, Happ, Nimmo, and Betts in the National League for me.
I like it. Chris, how about you?
I'd probably go with some of those, but especially Judge. I mean, he's been healthy. He's been playing majority of the season pretty well, and he got his record. So.
And the thing is, to think that the guy's 6'7" and he could play center field,
and he's that athletic for that height, though, too. It's
exactly.
Just crazy.
But for me, my 3 for the American League, definitely got to go Judd. I mean, outside the home run, but just being able to play all 3 outfield spots, at 6'7". Julio Rodriguez of the Mariners, nice up-and-coming youngster. And, this one's definitely a homer pick because when he's in the lineup, the Twins are almost unbeatable, and I wish he could stay healthy. But how do you tell a guy not to play at 100% or 125 like he likes to do? I gotta go Buxton. I mean, he's definitely a cornerstone of that team if he stays healthy. So, in my National League, Cunha Jr. with the Braves. I mean, what would he have done all season? Betts, definitely got to go with him. And since he got traded, I think Soto back, with the, got some protection there finally and seeing some good pitches. So, all right, guys. One guy that you got coming off the bench, both sides, Colin.
I just went with my DHs, and I had to pick Shohei Ohtani of the Angels. Again, I know that they're, in another, dismal season up in Anaheim. But again, I picked Shohei, and I really wanted to put him as my pitcher, though, too, for the American League. But it's tough to do, though, when you have, guys out there, like Verlander, for example, who I picked for my starting pitcher for the American League in this sort of, fantasy all-star game selection. But again, Ohtani being able to lead off and DH. He's got the 18-game hitting streak going on. And for my DH in the National League, I went with Marcell Ozuna of the Braves. A guy that I think has had, a productive year. I know he's had some setbacks in the past, though, but a very dangerous bat in a very good lineup for Atlanta. So I've got Ohtani and Ozuna as my guys coming off the bench.
All right, Chris, who do you have DH bench guys?
Yeah, I think Ohtani is going to be one of them, and then Toronto's Edwin. I'm probably going to.
Encarnacion?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Definitely like both of them. Ohtani, definitely. I mean, two-way player. I mean, can hit.
Never seen before ever.
And I, or at least in our generation.
In our generation.
And I think we're going to see a lot more players like that.
I sure hope so. I think it's good for the game, and I think especially guys though too. like in high school, for example,
Yep.
I played first, I played second, I played
Yep.
short, I pitched every
I
so
played
often.
everywhere. Yep.
And even in college, you know, and kind of like once you get to college, though, it's almost like you don't play multiple positions, but there's some guys that do in fact do it. But I'd love to see more of that happen, though. That'd be
Yeah,
amazing.
I definitely do. For me though, in the National League, I gotta go Pujols. I mean, the guy's clutch when it comes down to it. I mean, he's come in a couple times in one game. Definitely got to bring that bat in. Colin, you already named one of your pitchers, so who's the other guy you got?
Yeah, Verlander for the American League, and I'm going with Julio Urias of the Dodgers. You know, solid year. You know, solid. You know, very crafty left-hand pitcher again. Got the very nice breaking ball. Got the heater. You know, and again, part of just a lethal Dodgers team across the board. Though again, 110 plus wins, whatever the number is. Though, but he's had a very solid year. Though I think his ERA is like 1.81 on the season. You know, I would have put Joe Musgrove up there, my former teammate with the Padres, but again, you know, his ERA, 2.93, you know, had a great start to the year, though, but again, fell on some hard times as the year went on, though, and still made over 30 starts. But, you know, Verlander for the American League, Urias for the National League side of things.
All right. Chris, who do you have?
We'll go Verlander and Scherzer.
Scherzer, yeah, that's a good pick.
Yeah, that's a good pick. That definitely. Yeah, you can't. I think anybody that doesn't put Verlander in as their pitcher this year better have a good reason why. I got Verlander, and on the other side, too bad he got hurt. Gosselin for the Dodgers. I mean,
same.
He was 16-1 or 17-1. I mean,
Tyler Anderson too, and Tyler Anderson going from Denver to sea level, and he has the year that he had with the Dodgers. That was remarkable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So, all right, Kellen, who you got coming out of the bullpen?
The bullpen arms for my side of things, Emmanuel Clase of the Guardians. I mean, electrifying fastball, 98, 101 mile an hour heater. You know, he's been basically, just shoving it, to the opposing the opposing side of things, though. And again, probably, and I think a reason why the Guardians end up winning the American League Central. I'm rolling with two guys in the National League, Kenley Jansen and Josh Hader. You know, I know that Hader had a very difficult time coming from the Brewers to San Diego, and his ERA ballooned way out of proportion to like over 6, though, and he's really, I think, settled in nicely. He got a little hairy last night against the Giants, though, but Jansen, for him to still do this, though, guys, with another ball club, though, and I know that I was vocal about, is he losing it, like in the playoffs, is he losing it? But for him to still go, though, to another market, though, in Atlanta with the Braves and still be able to have this sort of consistent success, though, in another uniform is, really great to see, though, about, and even with Verlander, though, too, a guy who's been around since 2004 by way of the Tigers, now with the Astros, still being able, though, to pitch at a high level, even at that stage of his career, though. So Jansen and Hader in the National League and Emmanuel Clase of the Guardians in the American League.
All right, Chris, who do you have?
For me, it's going to be Greg Kimball.
Okay.
And Ryan Presley.
Well, Presley's not bad. I was hoping you'd say Will Smith. I mean,
just to needle at him a little bit more.
Yeah. No. Klassen definitely for the Guardians. That was definitely my first pick. The guy is, like you said, on fire. 1.3 ERA, 40-some saves.
Crazy.
And the other guy, Jensen, who replaced my guy Will Smith. I got the Jensen in the National League. So that's our little all-star reward player of the year for us at Coast to Coast. But before we get into our awards, let's get into the playoff talk here. So I think every race is finalized. It might just be some seedings here.
Seeding more than anything else in the National League right now.
Yeah.
Before we start, Christie's surprised Cleveland got in.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah, I am too. I think I had Cleveland finishing 4th or 5th in the.
I had him in 3rd.
Yeah, I had the Twins in 3rd. So let's get into it. Of course, the Yankees and I think it's Houston both get the bye 1 and 2, or I think Houston got the 1 seed. Cleveland gets the number 3 seed. Toronto, Tampa Bay, and Seattle for the first time in 2001. Chris, I don't even know if you were born yet when they won or were in the playoffs, but Those are your playoff teams. Callan, what do you think of the American League so far?
You know, I cannot be happier for Sarge and the great people of Seattle, Washington, finally seeing the Mariners make the postseason for the first time since 2001. In perspective, I was in first grade when that happened, when they won 116 games, and it's been a long time
Wow.
coming for those sports fans in Seattle. And again, they've been building something nice, though, guys. I'd say probably since 2020, 2021, last season being so close. But again, a lot of guys that you probably have never heard of, like a Cal Raleigh, who is like other than Edgar Martinez, is probably not the savior of baseball in Seattle, Washington, with that walk-off homer to beat the Rangers. And hearing Dave Sims and Rick, Rizas, go crazy on local TV and radio up there. But, like Cal Raleigh and, guys like that, again, Julio Rodriguez, probably the next budding superstar in Seattle. So I'm so happy for the Mariners, again, being able to, finally break that drought, because, that wears on you for a long time, and coming from another, and coming from a sports fan who, I don't want to see that. That'd be hysterical, though. But, and especially though, like in San Diego's case, not seeing the Padres make it, not seeing the Padres make it in a full season since 2006, though. And now seeing the Mariners, and it was funny. I saw an Instagram reel of a bar in downtown Seattle somewhere the night that Raleigh hit the walk-off homer.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's going bananas when he hits the walk-off homer, and there's literally people in this bar there, gents, sitting there looking around thinking, what the hell is going on? Why are all these people going, going crazy? Because they had no clue what had just happened. So I'm super excited though for the Mariners finally to break that drought. The curse is over. The drought's over. Happy for the Blue Jays, though. Again, a very young budding team in the American League. Again, Bichette, Vlad Jr., Kevin Biggio, and those guys up there. And then, of course, the Rays again doing it with probably one of the lower payrolls in Major League Baseball. Not surprised with the Astros again. They've been basically dominating teams since they won the World Series. Again, Tom Foley not since 2017. The Yankees are the Yankees. But again, Cleveland, though, winning the American League Central is still one of the biggest surprises, I think, in the American League. And I had the White Sox and Twins battling it out, though. But again, The White Sox fell off. The Twins, again, fell off, though. Pitching and injuries aside, though. And again, hoping the best, though, for Tony La Russa and his future endeavors, though, away from baseball. But, the American League, though, is second to be great, though. But more importantly, great to see that drought in Seattle finally come to a conclusion after 21 seasons.
Yeah, exactly. Chris, what you think of the American League playoff picture so far?
No, playoff picture in the American League looks good. I'm rooting for Seattle. I know they're in our division. So is the Astros, but the Astros have won too many World Series. Anyways, it's time for somebody new. So I would like to see it to be Seattle.
Yeah, honestly, for me, I can't say I want Cleveland to lose, but I don't want to see the Yankees or Astros win. So I'm going for one of the three wildcard teams: Toronto, Seattle, Tampa. I think it's going to be a battle. Yes, the Yankees and Astros are top dogs, and they're 1 and 2 for a reason. But how many of us were surprised Baltimore, and then how close they got just rooting for them to get in there? I mean, I know I was, Callan, you're shaking your head. I mean, I wish Baltimore would have had another 2 weeks left because I think they would have gotten to the playoffs.
Baltimore is our 2022 story of the Seattle Mariners from last year, being so close but so far away. But I hope that they can build off this season again. Adley Rutschman, and guys like that. Yeah, and Baltimore being so close again, they are essentially our this season's Mariners. They were so close to getting in, though. I mean, and the fact that the American League East is putting 3 teams into the race, though, the Yankees, the Rays, and the Blue Jays is astounding. But my goodness gracious, Baltimore. Could you have imagined, though, if 4 teams from the American League East would have gotten in to the postseason? I mean, because that would have been like 80% of the bracket. It would have been 4 AL teams or AL East teams plus again, the Central and the West Division, champs.
And I think a lot of people would have been rooting for everybody else but the East. I mean, so Sarge, he's coming up with some doozy ones.
Woo, baby.
It's like I'm a yeah. He's
That I
definitely coming up
approve
with
right
some
there.
doozies. So for me, yeah, we got that. So go to the National League. We got Braves and Mets are battling for that number 3 seed, I believe. St. Louis and the Dodgers. The Dodgers, of course, number 1 seed. I don't think a lot of people
I actually
are
believe
surprised.
that the Braves and Mets are fighting for the second spot right now in the
You are right. You are
bracket.
right.
Yeah.
Yep. See, the Cards got the 3 seed. You are
Yeah.
correct. And then you got the loser of the Mets, Braves, Phillies, and the Padres. So, Callan, your team's in. So, what's a little preview of the National League playoffs?
7th time in franchise history, the Padres are in the playoffs. That's all I have to say because it brings a smile to my face. But again, the Dodgers are the Dodgers, 110 plus wins. They had their 50th loss of the year last night. That's pretty insane. But though, there's always that but though when you talk about the Los Angeles Dodgers in the postseason. My dad ran a stat by me earlier this morning, fellas, that the Dodgers over the course of this, 10 division titles in 11 years, whatever it's been. They've won five in 5 seasons. They've won 100 plus games in 5 of those years. All 5 times, they did not win the World Series. So, I mean, if history is on their side again, that would be a 6th straight season that it doesn't happen. But again, the Dodgers are the Dodgers, and they should not be taken lightly because they have been, the measuring stick of the NL, for the past couple years, though. And other than 2020, it has not panned out in a full regular season for them since '88. And then you think about the Mets, and I'm a little bummed that Dirk is not here to drown his sorrows in the Mets blowing a 10.5 game lead. But I think though that Dirk probably would have said it though is that you knew it was going to happen one way or another that the Mets were going to implode and blow the National League East. And again, here come the Braves again. From the depths of the bottomless abyss to, perhaps snatching the NL East division title for, I think, a 5th straight season. But, the Mets are still dangerous, though. Again, Scherzer and DeGrom in a short series reminds me a little bit of the Astros in '98, sending out Johnson against the Padres twice in a 5-game set, and the Padres beat him twice, which was, the all more unlikely. Then, the Cardinals, I think that St. Louis, more so, I think this is all on the Brewers, though, guys. That trade for Josh Hader, though it helped out the Padres, I was very perplexed about what are you guys doing in the middle of a pennant chase, trading your closer to either save money or begin tearing down your ball club in the middle of you leading your division by like 8 games at that time. And St. Louis, they're the savvy playoff vets. They find a way to get it done. They win the division title. The Cardinals are the Cardinals. And I think it's more on the Brewers for what they did more than what the Cardinals did. It was more like the Brewers saying, hey, here you go, take the division title away from us. And then, of course, the Phillies, they break an 11-year playoff, like a 14-year playoff draw, whatever it was, 2011, 11 years, I should say. My math is off there. My apologies. But again, them, though, having some, playoff, like having the division lead and they blow it to the Mets or they blow it to, the Braves. And I think they finally, though, they finally realized, though, what was the problem. It wasn't Joe Girardi, guys. It was the pitching staff. It was the bullpen that was their downfall. And again, maybe them blowing out Girardi, was, kind of in a way was their turning point for the season. But at the same time, though, I think it's more on the pitching staff of the Phillies figuring it out, though. But again, their lineup is very good, though. Again, Harper, Castellanos, Gene Segura, JT Realmuto. Kyle Schwarber has been doing, miraculous things, though, from the leadoff spot this season. And then you have the San Diego Padres, a team who I think was probably penciled in to be like the 2 team in the National League West. I don't think people had the Giants being able to recapture that lightning in a bottle from that 107-win season. But again, though, you have the Padres, though, guys, and as I've seen all year here in my hometown, though, no Fernando Tatis Jr. because of the bike accident. Then the suspension hits, though, because of the PEDs that happens, though, in late August. And then you basically have Manny Machado dragging a club, though, with Eric Hosmer and Luke Voigt on this roster earlier in the season. And C.J. Abrams is, getting playing time here and there. And they played, very consistent baseball. And I think, though, but more importantly, I think a lot of it, though, guys, goes on the Padres hiring a competent veteran manager and a guy like Bob Melvin, who, again, I have long respected, though, from his time with the D-backs, his time with in Oakland, and him coming to San Diego has proved to pay some dividends here because, very seldom, though, I think, did Bob Melvin get very ticked after a loss, though. But when the Padres got beat by the D-backs, though, late September, they got beat by the D-backs, and he basically gave the club a earful after the game. The following day, they go up there and they pound Arizona 12-3, though. They win, and they go on a little bit of a run there of 5-6 straight wins, though. And that Bob Melvin has been in these spots, though, plenty of times, though, where maybe his team's not playing the best, though. But I think a lot of it, though, guys, goes to Manny Machado. Him again, as I said, though, when I was giving out my picks, though, for my all-star team this season, he basically, Manny's play this season, guys, reminds me a lot of Greg Vaughn in '98 with the Padres. Greg Vaughn, was, he had 50 homers that season. And Vaughn basically, carried the Padre ball club for the first few months because they had so many injuries that year with Caminiti, Finley getting hurt, Gomez getting hurt. The pitching staff was a bit beat up, banged up, shoot up and spit out, though. And Vaughn was that steady leader, though. Machado was that steady leader, though. Again, you're talking about, Luke Voigt striking out 5 times a game, Eric Hosmer grounding out to second base every perceivable plate appearance, though, that he had, though. And then the Padres, and more importantly, though, is the fact, though, that they even got Juan Soto and they even got Josh Bell and got Brandon Drury and got Josh Hader. And more importantly, though, it was them getting Machado protection again. Soto and Drury, and then getting Bell. That added a shot on the arm, though. Now, yes, though, Soto and Bell have not panned out yet. Drury's had 2 hit by pitches, in the head, though, in these past couple of weeks, sadly, which doesn't help the cause out, though. And then getting Josh Hader and stuff of that caliber. Now, again, maybe it doesn't pan out, though. Again, you have Soto for 2.5 years, though. But, though, guys, I will say, though, here, the Padres getting Soto, has, really turned this fan base on its head, though. I think they've broken a record for sellouts this year at Petco Park. Like they had like 27 sellouts this season, and more came, though, as they got Soto and as they dropped those City Connect uniforms, though. But now, though, more importantly, I just think, though, that now Manny has protection. Now he's got Soto in front of him, Drury or Bell behind him, 4 and 5, and then he's got the rest of the guys there. But more importantly, though, I applaud the starting pitching in. Darvish was great this year. Blake Snell turned it on, though, in the second half of the season. Joe Musgrove was very consistent. Mike Clevenger bouncing back from injury. He was kind of like stop and go. I was hoping for a bit more from Sean Manaea, but hopefully he can turn things around, though, as the year progresses on, though, these last 2 days. Though, then, of course, the bullpen got some major help, though, with Josh Hader. So, more importantly, I'm happy to see the Pods get there, though, again. 7th time they've gotten there in franchise history. This is so believe it or not, fellas, out of the 7 times the Padres have gone to the playoffs, I've seen 6 of them in my lifetime. So I'm super stoked to see that, more importantly. And again, hoping for a nice little run here because, more importantly, the further we go in the playoffs, the less games Tatis has to sit out for the suspension for 2023.
Oh, that is correct. I forgot about that. Chris, what's your thoughts on the NL playoffs?
Playoff bracket's interesting. I mean, you got the Dodgers, which, like Callan said, I don't think they're going to go far in the playoffs, but
I hope not.
I hope not either. But the rest of it's interesting. I hope the Padres go far. That'd be a good story.
Yeah. Yeah, and of course you got, the Braves have a chance to repeat. You got, are the Mets for real? Are they going to implode in the playoffs? I mean, they do have 3 good starters in a short series. That's kind of scary. I think outside of Dodger fans, I think a lot of fans are rooting for the Dodgers not to make a run, but they're stud-studded. I like the Padres. I think, they're up and coming. Hopefully they can put some battles together. And then, of course, you got the feel-good story of the Cardinals with the 3 superstars possibly last year. And I think a lot of us, if you're not a fan of a National League team, I think the Cardinals are the team that you're pulling for. I know I am kind of to a point for that. So With that being said, guys, let's get into our awards here. Let's go with let's start with the surprise team, good or bad. Callan, who is your surprise, good or bad team?
I'll give you both.
Okay.
I think my good surprise team was Baltimore this season.
Oh,
In the they're one of them, I should say. I got like two or three. But Baltimore was my good surprise this year again because I think a lot of people had them like being in last place in the American League East again, loaded again with talent with the Yankees and the Red Sox and the Blue Jays, even Tampa Bay, and then Baltimore kind of comes out of nowhere and turns, I think, a major corner for this organization going forward again with Adley Rushman, Anthony Santander having a good year. I know they dealt away Trey Mancini, though, but they still, though, kept the ship afloat, though, despite making that trade, though, with sending him to Houston. I think they wanted him to more so go to a contending team. Not to say they weren't contending at that point in time, though, at that rate. So I'll go with Baltimore as a good surprise team. Another one, I would probably go with Cleveland, because I think a lot of people, like us, did not have the Guardians winning the American League Central. But again, I think, they had a very good, story. Again, Jose Ramirez, Stephen Kwan, two, guys who provided a lot of juice. Again, Andres Jimenez did a great job as well, though, playing at second base. Good rotation. Again, steady manager in Terry Francona. Surprisingly bad, the White Sox. They let me down big time this year. I mean, poised, I think, with a team that had a good lineup again with Abreu, Tim Anderson, Eloy Jimenez, a pretty good rotation, a shutdown closer, and they just never were consistent. They reminded me a little bit too much, guys, of the 2015 Padres. Good roster on paper, never panned out. Surprisingly bad as well, again, or surprisingly good, probably in the National League. Man, that's a tough one, probably in the NL. I mean, I would probably say, honestly, surprisingly bad for me, the Rockies. They fork out that money for Chris Bryant, and he plays 40 games, and he's out for the whole year with a back injury.
Yep.
I mean, I knew they were probably not going to move the needle, but still, though, that was a pretty big move, though, because I really thought that he was going to go to Seattle and play third base for the Mariners, and that didn't pan out, though. I think one surprisingly good team in the back half of the year, I'd probably go with Arizona, believe it or not. Corbin Carroll's a pretty nice ad there. Christian Walker had a great season down there with the D-backs. But again, the rotation, Zach Gallen had a great season this year, 2.23 ERA. I do like Torrey Lavelle, though, but what is the general direction, though, for the D-backs? I'm not 100% sure, though. And one more surprisingly bad team in the National League, I got to go the Brewers. Again, dealing away Hader up by a couple of games in the Central, and then you basically gave the Cardinals a division championship. I don't know about that one, but that's where I would probably go, though, with my picks for surprisingly good and bad teams this season.
Yeah, that Brewer trade still, I think, shocked the world. So.
Help the Padres out, but still, it's like, what are you doing when you have a lead? When you're up by 4 games in the division, you're doing this?
Yep. Chris, you're good or bad team?
So I got a good team. The surprising good team probably be Cleveland, like we said.
Yeah.
No one really picked them to do good this season. And then I guess surprising bad team would be the Rangers, only because they spent so much in the offseason.
True.
And and I know it's kind of a rebuilding year, but you still
lose 94 games.
You didn't improve much.
Yeah. I definitely got the Rangers as my surprisingly bad team. I just, with the money they spent, I thought they would be there at least most of the season, maybe not win the pennant or get into the playoffs, but fight for it, and they just choked it away. And Callan, I gotta go with you. Baltimore definitely surprised me. I know us at on deck here all had Baltimore finishing last. I mean, and another surprising team is Boston. I mean, bad. I mean, who would have thought they would have finished last? I mean, so
very tough division out there in the American League East, though.
Yep, exactly. So let's go to our surprise good or bad player, Callan.
Honestly, this is kind of a tough one. There's been so many great stories out there this season, surprisingly good or bad, for players, and I think my surprisingly bad would probably be Chris Bryant again, a guy who, was on, broke the curse with the Cubs in 2016, got dealt to the Giants, thought he may have stayed there. I thought he was going to go to Seattle, though, but he goes to play with the Rockies. Again, very hitter-friendly ballpark. But his back flared up all season. I think he had like a knee problem, and he was just, ravaged by injury. He played like 45 games, I think. And that was year one, guys, of a 7-year, $140+ million contract. I just did not get that sign from the standpoint of the Rockies. Again, no Arenado. Blackman got hurt at the end of the season. There's no one in that line that really scares me again because I'm
Mhm.
playing in Denver. I mean, CJ Crone had 102 RBIs though, but
Yeah.
I'd go with Bryant though, just because wow, you go to Colorado more so to follow the money more than maybe going to Seattle or staying with the Giants, maybe going somewhere else. But he chose the Rockies and he played less than 40 games or less than 50 games though. And that's still and there's still 6 more years on that 6 more years on that contract. Like yikes. That was one that was a very surprise for me though, when it comes to maybe bad players, but good players though. So many, choices, guys. I probably have to go with Adley Rushman, who I think
Ooh.
provided a glimmer of hope, though, for a Orioles club, guys, who's been almost like the early 2010 Astros, 110 lost seasons and, number one picks, though. And I think, though, him coming onto the scene, though, at least this year, I think for Oriole fans is like, okay, maybe not this year, but maybe down the road, though. It kind of, in a way, reminds me a little bit of when the Padres got Tatis Jr. from the White Sox, though. Okay, maybe not right away, but maybe soon. And I think that's what you can only hope for with Baltimore again, because I know that they're kind of going through a sale right now. There's been not really rumblings, but maybe, if they get sold, maybe they move out of Baltimore and stuff like that, but, at least though with Adley Rushman is probably my surprise there. Good or bad though. So those are my 2 picks though for that category.
All right, Chris, who's your surprise good or bad player for the year 2022?
Chris, you're on mute, buddy.
Chris, you're on mute.
I am not sure. I mean, like Calvin
So
said
many
first, it
choices.
is a tough one. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's fine. For me, I mean, definitely Chris Bryant tops the list.
Yikes.
I definitely also got to go Sano for the Twins. The guy has not produced. He's only had like 5 hits all year, and I think 2 were a home run or something like that. So
and always finds a way on the IL, sadly.
yeah, exactly. So definitely, I hope they move on from him. A surprise good story. I mean, like you said, Colin, there's a lot of them. Pujols, there's Judge. I'm going to go with the Rise because he was the most consistent Twin we had. He's pretty much the blocker right now for Pujols or for Judge to get the Triple Crown.
Yeah. Who would have thought that?
Yeah, exactly. And there was comparisons on Rod Carew comparisons here in Minnesota, which
fair.
I really hate. Fair comparisons, but I just hate the comparisons.
No, I'm right there with you.
Just like I saw a talker on Facebook. Who's the face of baseball? Everybody's like, oh, it's this guy. Why does there have to be just one face of baseball? Why can't there be multi faces of baseball?
Ohtani, Tatis, Vlad Jr.
Judge.
4.
Yeah, I mean they're throwing out Trout, which I don't think he's a face of baseball anymore. I mean he's there, but just too injury prone.
Ohtani.
Yeah, exactly. So that's my surprise. Let's go into our manager of the year, Callan. Who do you got?
Man, I don't have a clear favorite for the National League, but I have to give it to Scott Service in the American League because this man literally just broke the longest U.S. professional sports playoff drought with the Mariners. And I thought he should have got it too in 2020 when they were close to getting in or what have you. And that he's been there for a long time and they've kind of, stayed with them for a while again. And I go with Scott Service in the American League again. This guy managed the first Mariner team to go to the postseason in 21 years and has helped, I think, bring fans back to the ballpark in Seattle. Again, they have a great team up there, a very great ballpark from what I've heard, though, from friends who've gone to T-Mobile Park up there in Seattle. But in the NL, it's just so hard, though. I mean, you could go with Dave Roberts getting 110 wins, and like it's the first time that they've won over 110 wins. That's like the easy choice, though.
Yep.
But I would probably honestly go with Marmol of the Cardinals, I think. A rookie manager who, helped turn around this Cardinal ball club. Who got to the wild card game but lost to the Dodgers on a walk-off homer by Chris Taylor last season. But again, doing it, though, with, Yachty, Pujols, Wainwright on their way out. A lot of, young kids, like another former teammate of mine, Tommy Edman, playing second base, Lars Nootbaar, Dylan Carlson, Arenado still playing at a high level. Marmol would probably get my vote in the National League. I would maybe throw Bob Melvin in there because, again, he had to work with basically a team that only had Machado being the main guy. Tatis's issues off the field, though, with the
Mhm.
bike accident and, that whole circus, though, as well. And I think more importantly, though, for Melvin doing it, though, in his first year with this ball club, though, is also could have been one. But I still lean towards Marmol with the Cardinals. And I go with Scott Service over in the American League with the Mariners.
Okay. Chris, who do you have as your manager of the year?
Yeah, I'd probably go with the Mariners
Okay.
manager for taking them to the playoffs for the
Mm-hmm.
first time in a while, and then we'll go to St. Louis where Pujols is, and
Yep.
I think that's a special moment there, and hopefully he gets his manager of the year.
Yeah. I got to go Baltimore. Brandon Hyde. Like I said, nobody I mean, just like Seattle, nobody counted them in. So I mean, both of those guys are good picks. And I'm going to throw Dirk a bone here. I'm going to go with I can't think of the name now. The Mets manager, Showalter. Yeah. Because they collapsed last year. Yeah, they collapsed again, but they're still in the playoffs. They still have.
They're still going to make it one way or another.
Yeah, so I think they got a good building stone there. So I'll throw that one out to Dirk. And let's go before we get to our MVP. Let's go with the best moment of the year. Callan, your best moment.
Yeah, gosh, this is another one. But there's just so much. There's just so many to pick from. Judge hitting 62 tonight, Pujols hitting 700 on the season. Did we have any no hitters or perfect games this year? I feel like we had.
Well, we've had a couple no hitters. I don't think we had a.
They were like early in the year. I want to say.
Yeah.
Gosh, there's just been so many.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, can I just say that mine was being able to actually announce an MLB game this
There you
year
go.
at Angel Stadium again between the Angels and the Astros? I mean, if I had to pick like my best moment, that would probably be it, honestly. Being able to live out that boyhood dream. It wasn't, me playing in the game, but it was my call up to the major leagues, though, after, spending, so much time, 14 years of trying to get to the big four, big five, big six. But, on the field, though, I'd probably say my favorite moment, though, it's a tie.
Okay.
Pujols hitting 700 and Judge hitting 62.
All right, Chris, how about you?
Mine's probably Pujols getting to 700. I think that was a big moment, all this time in the Major League Baseball, and finally got that milestone.
Yep. Callan, I'm upset with you now because your moment of calling the Angels game, because you are the closest thing I could say that I've gotten to somebody in professional sports. That was definitely my big moment of the game. So hats off to you for living out your dream.
I really do. Thank you.
All right. So let's go to our MVP here for last. Callan, who's your MVP?
Oh, the debate that never ceases to amaze when it comes to the MVP for Major League Baseball. Eesh. I don't know. Like, I've been tossing and turning about this one at night. Because, I can see the arguments being made, though, in the American League for Judge and Ohtani, and that, the award only goes to guys who are on playoff teams and stuff like that. Let me just cut to the chase in the National League. It's Paul Goldschmidt. I mean, I would love, like I said earlier, I'd love to give it to Manny Machado of the Padres, but I have to go with Goldschmidt because Machado missed so much time, though, with that ankle injury. Goldschmidt played through the pain. No pain he had. I know he missed some games. I know he missed some games in Toronto because of the vax mandate in Canada. But again, I do think, though, it solely is about value to the club, though. And I think that Goldschmidt and Machado both warrant votes, though. But I think I lean towards Goldschmidt because his team won the division championship. And I know that Manny was like a man on the island, though, in San Diego. But again, sadly, him getting hurt, I think, is what's going to probably, ding him some points on the votes for the MVP. So I go Goldschmidt and Machado's my top two. I know that people probably say, well, what about Freeman? What about Trey Turner? What about Mookie Betts? That's great and all, but they won 110 games, and that's not one individual on that Dodgers team that's a part of it. What about the Padres? They have won 88, 89 games without Machado. If he missed more time, would the Cardinals have won the Central without Goldschmidt hitting at the pace he had been hitting? I think he had like a 28, 30 game hit streak earlier
Yeah,
this
like
season.
that.
He was on a mad tear in May and June and part of July.
And I think he was the closest one to 400 for a while there.
Yeah, he was getting close. So I go Goldschmidt and Machado. I give it to Goldschmidt though over Maney just because again Machado had missed the time with the ankle injury in Colorado in June. But of course, the one that does not want to die, though, guys, is the pick for the American League. And could it be Aaron Judge? Is it Shohei Ohtani? And I know the old antidote is, you can only give the MVP to guys that make the postseason. It's tough. This is a very difficult one, and I hate having to give it to one or the other. But I'm going to give it to Judge, though I want to give it to Ohtani, but. I do think, though, that part of the point system is, well, did your team make the postseason?
Yep.
Sadly, Judge's team is in. Ohtani's club is on the outside looking in again for the 8th straight season since 2014.
Yep.
Although Shohei is just incredible, and again, having been able to work that game where he had started, and again, like I said, I think on 4 Bros or on Kicking It here on C2C back in July, watching him pitch in person is cool and all. But from the vantage point I had, though, from the press box and hearing the glove pop and radiate through the stadium when he struck out somebody at 101, and like my jaw is dropped until I have to announce the next batter is incredible. Now, maybe he wins the Cy Young, maybe, I don't know. But I do think that Judge does warrant it or does get it because, again, the home runs are one thing, but more importantly, he was healthy all season. And I think that, yes, I'll probably get some flack for picking the playoff team over the Angel player, though. But again, I can see why people would give it to Ohtani again because, two-way player. But again, would the Angels have been where they're at, though, because of him on the mound or at the plate? So it's very difficult, believe me. I still lean towards Judge, but I will not be upset, though, if either one wins it because they both, I believe, have the actual value to the franchise with the Yankees and with the Angels. But I think, though, it's going to go to Judge, in my opinion. Yeah. So I'll go Judge and Goldschmidt for my MVPs this year.
All right, Chris, who do you got for your MVP for 2022?
No, I'm kind of the same, Judge and Goldschmidt, but I think that if both teams were in the playoffs, I think you still give it to Judge only because, he broke his record tonight. And I think that's probably how they would probably determine that if both were in the playoffs.
Yeah, for me, Colin, you said it. Goldschmidt slam dunk. I don't. If he doesn't win it, I don't know what the voters are thinking.
I won't be mad if Machado wins it though, but I will be a little ticked though that Goldschmidt didn't win it though.
Yeah, in the American League, like you said, Judge breaks the record. He's one stat away from getting the Triple Crown, which the last one was Cabrera,
2011 or 2012. Yeah.
You got Ohtani, who's does it all, plays the field once in a while, DHs, pitches,
hits homers.
Honestly, you could even throw Verlander in there for his record and his one.
Oh, absolutely.
Something ERA. I'm with you, Colin. I'm torn. I don't think. The best case scenario is they come out co-MVPs. But I think if Judge gets it, the Triple Crown, he's definitely the Cy Young or the MVP.
Yeah.
So I got to lean towards Judge just like you did. So,
yeah.
But with that being said, guys, outside of Kellen stealing my big best moment, I want to thank him for coming on. So, Kellen, final thoughts.
No, it's always good to come and talk some baseball. I know it's been, for me, it's been, kind of a chaotic zoo with, work and stuff like that. But always nice coming on, though, guys, and talking baseball with you guys. So, again, thanks for the invite and good to see you guys again, as always.
No problem. Chris?
Yeah, baseball the regular season's over, but the playoffs are just around the corner. So, we'll be covering that. And then coming up is our wrestling show, Tuesday Night Mania. So, tune in for that.
Yeah, let's Tuesday we're scheduled to go on. There's some technical issues going on with the guys down in Florida, but we'll see what goes on. So hopefully we have that. Colin, it's always great to have you on.
As always.
And Savannah Bananas released their schedule.
Yeah, let's go, baby.
They're
Yep.
coming out your way, Callan. Maybe you can hook up with them guys and maybe get a call in there or something.
Oh, that'd be
I know
amazing.
I know they're coming to Iowa.
The
and
new modern
Milwaukee.
day Harlem Globetrotters.
Yeah, exactly. So, but with that being said, keep checking out Coast to Coast all week long. We got different shows. Like Chris said, Tuesday Night Mania is scheduled to go on. Well, we don't know yet. Sports Minute, OBW, Creeping It Real on Thursdays, Morning Tailgate on Sundays, and Between the Ropes. So, with that being said, Callan, thank you, Chris. Thank you for what you're doing. I'm Big B. Thank you for the viewers for chiming in, Tim, and I think Chrissy was on there a couple times.
Yep.
So check you all next week on Deck. Have a good night.